Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Game on Cloud 9 here, and like I told you guys yesterday and the day before, I am back, and I am back. So, I wanted to kick things off today with doing a crossover battles video, since this is something that you guys have requested for a while, and even prior to that big old hiatus I went on, for the past year or whatnot, I hadn't really been doing a lot of those prior to that. It had been a while. So, I wanted to start it off with pretty simple crossover battles video, one that a lot of you guys would probably be familiar with as far as both of the stories are concerned, and that would be Gon from Hunter x Hunter and Luffy from One Piece. You know, both of them are main characters and both of them are part of Shonen Staple series. So I think this would be a fun one to do and an interesting one to do. So if you're not familiar with Gon from Hunter x Hunter, Hunter x Hunter was made by Yoshihiro Togashi, and Yoshihiro Togashi made Yu Yu Hakusho. So if you know the spear gun, ray gun, or whatever you want to call it, dude's shooting it, he's a spear detective. Then the same guy who made that made Hunter x Hunter. So if you haven't checked it out, then I suggest you go ahead and see it because you'll probably enjoy it. It gives you a little bit of a feel of Naruto too, a little bit in there. Some people may disagree with that, but that's just me. And then we have Luffy from One Piece. One Piece was made by Ichiro Oda. It's been going on for 15 plus years. It's a pirate manga. It's about a boy who's trying to become Pirate King, after the death of the original Pirate King, Goldie Roger. And everyone's going on a search for the treasure of One Piece, the thing that he left behind. So that's One Piece in a nutshell. Again, recommend it. Check it out. It's about a rubber boy with, rubber abilities and pirate stuff. So definitely recommend it. But anyway, I'm a little rusty. So bear with me through the course of this video. So if things aren't quite like maybe how they used to be, I'm going to get back to that point and I'm going to go past it. Just bear with me on it. Anyway, so I want to start off with talking about the abilities of Gon first, and then I'm going to talk about the abilities of Luffy first, and then I'll give my evaluation. So with Gon, Gon's a 14-year-old boy, and one of the things we know that he starts off with in Hunter x Hunter as far as weapons is concerned, we know he has the staff of, or not staff, what am I calling it, a staff? A fishing rod. He uses somewhat as a staff, but he uses it more of as a long range weapon for sneaking. Now, he doesn't really use it at all after the first arc of Hunter x Hunter, if you ask me, but for the sake of this debate, I'm going to give the characters access to things that, to everything that they've for the most part used, like within reason. Like I'm not going to give them access to something like, for example, a movie transformation. Like I know Gon had some sort of Nen transformation or something going on in one of the Hunter x Hunter movies where he had like dark looking eyes and whatnot. I'm not going to give them access to those type of abilities, but something that they've used, canon wise, and something that can easily be brought back in the sake of a fight, then yeah, I'm using that. So yeah, he has a fishing rod that uses for sneaking, and he used it, for against Hisoka to sneak something off of him. When he was hunting during the hunting exam. So showing that Gon knows to go, he knows how to be undetected. Among strong level opponents. So I'm gonna give him a little bit of stealth in that area. As far as immense strength goes, Gon definitely has immense strength. He's been able to push open like a two-ton door that. From Killua's family residence, and if you know anything about Killua's family residence, there's several layers of these doors, and each of them weighs, like several tons. And the fact that he was able to train himself up and push those doors open actually increased all of his overall abilities. So by the time that we got to like the Heavens Arena arc, Gon was able to use all of these abilities in unison. So he was able to fight against Hisoka. At this point, he had an ability called Nen, which I'll get into Nen in a minute. And we see him being able to throw up, slabs of rock, punch through them, being able to sneak behind them and, actually land a solid hit on Hisoka. So he had speed, strength, speed, strength, stealth, all of that, in one. And again, this strength comes from being able to push open a 2-ton door. So again, punching solid rock is nothing for Gon. Kicking solid rock is nothing from Gon. As far as if we're going to get into speed is concerned, I would kind of include that in that as well. But I don't really have a lot of evidence for how to be able to quantify exactly how fast Gon is, at least in base. if I were to go based on my own observations and from what I've seen. I have more evidence in terms of it for his transformation, but we'll get into transformation a little bit later. So, that's Gon's overall base abilities. We know he has insane stamina and definitely endurance. I'm going to give him endurance the most. And the reason why we know he has high endurance is the fight that he had with Genthru. And if you guys remember Genthru, he was in the Greed Island arc. He was the guy who creates explosives with his Nen abilities. And he actually blew off Gon's arm. And Gon still continued fighting. You know, he was missing a hand. And, you know, his other hand was darn near hanging off. And he was still able to persevere through all of this pain. You know, so I'm definitely thinking, you know, hey, Gon, you know, you can't mess with him with that. But anyway, Gon has high endurance, speed, all of that. So now that we went through his base abilities, let's talk about his Nen. His Nen ability is that of an enhancer, which basically means that he can use that to enhance certain aspects of himself. So what he usually does is the Jajanken. And the Jajanken is a special ability where he can charge it up and do basically a high-powered punch. You know, which is cool, but at the same time, I mean, where we have not seen that before. But it, you know, I still like Gon. So he does like a high-powered punch, you know, with Nen. Now, Nen, you have several different ways you can protect yourself. You can protect yourself. I forget what the names of the abilities are, but like you can, you know, shroud your body in Nen. But then if you do that, then you can't focus your Nen in a particular area. Nen's like a trade-off. So you can shroud your body in Nen to protect yourself from attacks, you know, that normally would just shred somebody apart. You can use Nen to be able to see, to, you know, enhance, you know, your vision or see certain, you know, certain things. You know, or like, you know, with Gon, you know, he can concentrate it in his hand, you know, and use it as a punch, which you would think likely anybody could do that, but, you know, I mean, Gon's just extremely well at doing that as an enhancer. So, now to move on to transformation abilities. Gon has an ability which I would consider to be an offshoot of being an enhancer, where he can actually age his body. He can, under an insane amount of trauma, if he's willing, the whole deal with how Nen works, if you're willing to give something up, then you can go ahead and you can reach even greater level. Nen's all about like contracts and, you know, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice. And Gon, if he's willing to sacrifice his own life, can achieve a transformation where he can age his own body. And when he ages his own body, this literally enhances all his abilities dramatically. He's able to reach the levels of the Chimera Ant King in terms of prowess. He is actually faster than Neferpitou. Now, this is where the speed feat comes in that I didn't have for his base form, but I have for his transformation. When Gon is in his adult Gon form, you know, where he's aged his body up and he's that of an adult, we know Neferpitou has shown to be able to have speeds where she's able to jump, from one mountain top to, a plateau in like seconds, like not if even. And the reason why we know this is from Neferpitou jumping from one mountaintop where you see her legs, the veins gathering up in her thighs and everything. She jumps from one mountaintop to the next in an instant before, what's his name? I can't even think of his name. I'm like, which is so bad because he's actually very major and I care about this character too. You guys know what I'm talking about. Long white hair. I don't remember what his name is right now, but it'll come to me later. Gon's role model, with the light white long hair, could barely react to this sense of danger that he felt coming from Neferpitou when Neferpitou did that huge hop and then took off his arm. Barely had a chance to react. When I barely had a chance to react, he barely had enough time to even push these guys away. So I would say this probably happened within like a 1 to 2 second period where Pito was able to cover that difference. So that's definitely beyond supersonic speeds, if you ask me. I don't usually like to go about what the OBD always says, but I would consider that to be hypersonic if you can do that in, a few seconds flat. And it easily was miles away. Easily. So the acceleration is definitely there. Gon is faster than that because we've seen Neferpitou try to attack Gon before and do one of those leaps at Gon, and Gon dodged it and was like all the way outside the freaking building. So, like, literally. So Gon's faster than that. Gon also in that form has immense strength. I would consider to be on, like, when he's doing the Jajanken town level. Now, again, try not to go by like some of the outskirt Battledome feats, but I'm going to consider it to be at that level. Why? Because of looking at what the Chimera Ant King Meruem can do, and looking at how much force a fully charged Jajanken was able to do to the forest area around it. Seeing as how much how much the aura, the area of the radius it covered. So I'm gonna consider it to be on maybe low end town level for that. And Gon also has, now this is something actually that I should have mentioned back in his base form, but this is something he can just do in general with Nen. He can also do two different other things with his Nen as an enhancer. One, he can fire it as a beam. So he can do the Jajanken as a long range weapon, as a beam, although it's not that powerful. And then he can also make it into a sword, and he can cut something in two, which he did with one of the Chimera Ants when his Jajanken wasn't working as a blunt force attack. So he can make it into a sword, and I can't imagine how powerful it would be in his adult Gon form, but that's something to consider. Now, to get on to Luffy, now that we talked about Gon and all his abilities, Luffy is a rubber man. We know he has very high strength levels, as far as the fact that he comes from the Monkey D family, if you want to say. You look at Garp, what Garp is able to do. This is without even being I guess a rubber man, or having these hockey abilities. I mean, Luffy's been able to literally leave an imprint in somebody's face, if you know who I'm talking about, where he's done the same punch like several times. Anyway, we know Luffy can punch through solid bedrock. People always like to name that feat, but it is a real feat that Luffy can punch through solid bedrock. Luffy can punch through steel. Luffy can kick through steel. Luffy can pick up like the beam from a freaking ship and throw it like it's nobody's business. This is pre-time skip, and he's gotten stronger since then. He's been able to pick up giant animals and throw them. I mean, Luffy's feats are off the charts as far as strength level goes. Like, he's definitely able to lift more, than a few tons. So, even though I wasn't trying to get into the evaluation quite yet, I have to say Luffy definitely has Gon beat in terms of just pure strength. Now, another thing Luffy can do too, before I get into transformations, is he's also insanely fast. Where we've seen him, he's never been able to beat, like, for example, like NL in like speed, because NL moves at like lightning speeds. But the fact that he's been able to react to people, or he's fought against people who move at like the speed of lightning, or people who have these abilities where they're able to teleport themselves. You look at like Law or somebody like that. He's been able to keep up or face the same sort of people that how would I put it, that these people have faced. Not only that, but then we've seen Luffy react to gunfire. He has observation hockey, so he's been able to predict certain attacks to come towards him, like cannonballs and beams from pacifistas. He's been able to react to those, which I don't know if I consider those to be at light speeds. Some people consider those to be at light speeds because they say, oh, it's like what's his name, Kizaru. But I'm like, those are the pacifistas, though. They don't have Kizaru's power. They might mimic it, but they're not exactly like that. Not only that, but then I always consider the charge time. People never like to consider the charge time. That's always been a thing that I've always debated people on when it comes down to One Piece. But I'm like, dude, those things have to charge whenever they do. Even Kizaru will sit there and charge his beam for a minute and then fire it. So, you have to factor that in when you're doing these debates. But anyway, Luffy has reacted to such things before. And whatever Luffy has not reacted to, we know he's had insane amount of durability towards, because he's a rubber man. So blunt attacks don't really work well on Luffy unless you have have how would I put it? You have something either sharp to hurt him with, or you have hockey. Those are the only two things that have hurt Luffy in combat. It's hockey that are sea rocks, or like sea stones, I should say, or if you're able to throw him in some water, some seawater. If you're able to get him to do that, then you can mess Luffy up all freaking day. So sharp attacks, stuff from the sea and that sort of thing. That's Luffy's whole thing. Now in the transformations, Luffy has second gear, and he has the third gear and the fourth gear. Now the second gear increases all those abilities tenfold. Luffy's way faster and stronger than ever before. Then we have but then I guess you could say he has stamina problems sometimes with that. So he's been able to do it where I think he can isolate the gear second or in different parts of his body. So he's not like he doesn't have to necessarily go full blown gear second anymore. But when he is full blown gear second, he can only maintain that for so long. I know, and it's supposed to shorten his life. I'm wondering what's happening with that now, but that's what it's supposed to do. And gear third used to turn him to where he would be a small child, but he no longer has that weakness anymore from what I've seen. So gear third, also we've seen him punch through buildings with no problem, just fist blazing. So punching through bedrock would be no issue, or steel. We've even seen him do the elephant gun Gatling, which was able to not destroy the Noah, which the Noah was massive. It was probably like the size of a small town. But he was able to put in a nice size of damage towards it. He has the Red Hawk move, which is more of like is similar to that of the Gamu Gamu jet pistol, but it's on fire, so I guess you could say he can burn somebody with that. And on top of that, he has the Gear Fourth, which is an even more enhanced version, I'm gonna say, of Gear Second and Third all together, where he has speed increase. He can fly, with him jumping around. He can, in his he has the same strength level of basically what Gear Third would be, but with Gear Second speed. That's how I'm gonna put it for that. So it's like all of that in one, but it has major drawbacks. And after he uses it, then he's pretty much done for the rest of the day. So anyway, here's to do the evaluation. I spent like 17 minutes talking about what Luffy can do. Let's get into it. So how I feel like the fight would actually go if these two were duking it out. Well, first off, if we're talking about in base form, Gon would definitely have, like, if we're gonna set the battleground, we're gonna say it's open woods, open forest, typical setting. Maybe we'll put a little pond there on the side. For one, Gon would definitely not be able to win a one-on-one open confrontation with Luffy. I feel like if these two ran at each other and they would start fighting, I definitely feel like Gon, I could see him trying to use his environment to his advantage. I could see him maybe even trying to throw some dirt in Luffy's face and trying to sneak up and, use his tactics. But I definitely think that Luffy's observation haki would come in handy. Even if he managed to get anything to, how would I put it, obscure Luffy's vision. Because that's something I could see a hunter doing. But at the same time, observation haki would overwrite that completely. So even if he was getting these tactics where he was trying to go for that, or even if Gon tries to hide behind any boulders in the area and use, let's say, for example, his rod to get him, that's not really going to have an effect on Luffy. And even if it lands, Luffy is a rubber man. Gon would more or less need something sharp in order to hurt him. So let's get into special abilities in this confrontation. Once, you have this one-on-one, I guess, hand-to-hand motion where maybe they're both going at it, we all know Luffy can use the jet Gatling. So even if Gon is from a distance, I can see Luffy definitely, easily being able to target where Gon actually secluded himself at, and using the observation haki to be able to pinpoint and use his jet Gatling to smash apart any rocks that might be in the area that could be a way for Gon to seclude himself or hide himself from Luffy, which again would create more of an open atmosphere once again for them to be going at it hand to hand. Gon is not winning a close in fight with Luffy. Luffy has range and he has he's long range and close range, and Gon could only be the only long range thing he has is the fishing rod. So I don't see how he would be able to do that. Looking at the Jajanken, you know, I mean, yes, it could push Luffy back a little bit if he hits him with it, but again, the Gatling has a bit more force. We've never seen the Jajanken, you know, like in base form, destroy a part of building. We've seen it had insane strength. We've seen it hurt people. We've seen people cough up blood. But again, Luffy's going to need something a bit sharp. So I feel like even if Gon lands a few of these hits on Luffy, he's going to have to resort to using probably the sword form of the Jajanken, which could actually, you know, trip Luffy up. But again, I feel like Gon would have to figure out a way around Luffy's observation haki. Now, Luffy's observation haki isn't, you know, I feel like unbeatable. Why? Because I've seen Luffy get hit by stuff plenty of times before, and I think it was by people that didn't even have observation haki. So sometimes people act like it's God tier. It's not that insane, but I could see in a few instances it giving him some trouble, and I feel like Gon's speed would have to be significantly higher than Luffy's in order to be able to get some really effective hits off with that particular sword in order to be able to actually damage him. And I don't think it would be his first attack. He probably would actually go with the beam first, but let's say he goes with the sword. I don't see really him being able to land it effectively in that situation. If he does, I feel like Luffy would just be more cautious about getting in too close in with Gon at that point. But since Luffy is faster in this instance, I would say that it's not really going to be too much of an issue. Now, here's the thing. What it's really going to come down to is transformations, because Gon, I don't think, is going to win this competition just from a one-on-one straight across. Gon needs his adult Gon transformation to win this fight. He does. He just does. The thing is with his adult Gon transformation, usually it requires an insane amount of trauma, so I'm not exactly sure how long the fight would last in this instance. And I definitely know, I don't see Gon realizing what Luffy's weakness is. Even if there's a pond in the area, I don't see how he'd be able to do that. And it's not like I've seen Gon's fights be on such a destructive level to the point where I see him maybe knocking him several feet away, at least in base. So again, Gon transforms. Let's say he transforms, he goes into his adult Gon form. That is when the fight becomes a lot more interesting. Why? Because at this point, in my personal opinion, I feel like Gon definitely has Luffy on the speed. You know, seeing as how he's faster than Neferpitou, and I feel like Neferpitou has shown higher speed feats than what we've seen Luffy show, jumping from one mountaintop to the next. I'm not saying Luffy's not fast. I'm just saying I feel like Gon has shown higher speed in that form. But the tricky thing is, I feel like Luffy has more power, and he has a little bit more diversity in what he can do in his confrontation. So if he goes into his adult Gon form, I definitely think that Gon will be able to land some solid hits, and he'll probably be able to knock Luffy back. This will cause Luffy to go into the Gear Second form, and I feel like from then on they're really going to be going at it. But Gon has a higher endurance. I mean, Gon has lost his freaking arm as a kid, you know, or arm was falling off, you know, as a kid, and then even in his adult Gon form, we've seen Neferpitou cut off his arm, and this dude literally just grabs his arm in the air, throws it down, and literally makes a Jajanken like out of nothing. So the fact that he's able to lose limbs and not be any issue with pain, and we've seen Luffy grunt and hurt. I'm not saying he doesn't have a high pain tolerance, because Luffy definitely does, but Gon has done it with like basically has taken pain on without him even looking like he flinched. So I'm giving that to Gon. So I don't think, even if Luffy's hitting him with these solid blows, if Gon is that pissed off, I don't really see it have a lot of effect on him. I actually do think that either we would have to have a lot of in order for Luffy to win that particular confrontation, because at this point I'm going to say Gon can use the sword of the Jajanken, like the sword version. So if he's going at him with that, Luffy's got to be on his P's and Q's. He's got to use the Gear Third Elephant Gatling, You know, if that lands, I will probably give it to Luffy, but I think the Gear Fourth will be needed, and I think Luffy would result to the Gear Fourth. Um, Here's a trade-off: the adult Goon form cannot last forever, and the Gear Fourth form can't last forever either. But one thing we know from Gear Fourth is that Luffy would be incapacitated, but with adult Gon, Gon literally gave up his life to do it. He has to give up his life. So either way we cut this, I feel like Gon is getting the worst end of the deal on this. Gon definitely has a speed advantage in this particular fight, and that sword definitely would be lethal to Luffy, but the fact that Luffy can not only fly around in Gear 4th, but he has the King Kong gun, which has been shown to be on the level of I'm gonna say Midtown level probably, because of when he used it on Doflamingo and seeing his how much damage that did to the surrounding area, where we just seeing the entire city blocks just being ripped up from the ground, flying up in the air. I'm gonna say it's around there. I definitely don't think Gon can just take one of those and just be fine. I think he would be done, at that point, or at least his body would be broken up, even if he could continue to move. And again, I definitely think Luffy could outlast him if it's going to come down to a contest of that. Because Luffy, again, has a superior strength in that form. Gon might have the superior speed. Luffy's main concern would be avoiding the sword. And even if he does, I think at that form, he probably can take a few hits. I'm sure. That sword hasn't been shown to be that sharp. I'm just kind of power scaling with the sword, considering the fact that it was used once, and in fact this is adult Gon, so I assume it's going to be like 1,000 times stronger. So it's technically not fair to do that, but I'm doing it just to give Gon a little bit of something to fight for. Ultimately, I'm seeing the fight going to Luffy, but if Gon can manage to either get the fight to get Luffy to fall in a body of water, and even if he falls in a body of water, Luffy recently I've seen Luffy do some stuff where he's actually been effective or still been able to do a little something, so he might be able to get himself out of it. I don't know. It would be probably hard, but unless Gon is able to either capitalize and figure out on Gon's or on Luffy's weakness, or he's able to, actually effectively be able to get a lethal blow on Luffy with the sword, I don't see it happening because that's his only weapon. But Luffy has a diversity of that, the armament haki, long range, close range. He's just more diverse. And I mean, I don't really think it's funny. I don't even actually think Luffy is that diverse of a character, but he's more diverse than Gon in this instance. In this particular fight, he has long range, short range, and he has a defense of the armament haki. So this is just my opinion. I'm giving the fight to Luffy. But let me know what you guys think. I know this is a long crossover battles video. I'm probably gonna make the next one's really short. But again, this is me getting into the swing of things. So bear with me. Forgive me for doing that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And also check out the Shining Otaku page for some original manga content for myself and other creators, and to follow what we're doing. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.